Good morning, everybody. This is another episode of the Silver Linings Librarian with Miss Coviello and my two dear friends, Kristian and Arlo. And we're going to be talking about Jean Laffite. And it's a wonderful, wonderful book that I didn't know about till Arlo and Kristian told me about it. So we're on the levee in New Orleans, which was a very important place where a lot of this story takes place.
Jean Laffite, The Pirate Who Saved America by Susan Goldman Rubin, illustrated by Jeffrey Himmelman. As a little boy, Jean Laffite dreamed of becoming a pirate, and when he grew up, that's exactly what he did. Little did he dream, however, that one day he would be called the hero of New Orleans, a pirate turned American patriot. Do you want to say something, Patu, about Jean Laffite? Talk loud.
Why do you think that Jean Laffite is a good person? Even he saved America, but
He's a pirate.
he was a pirate. He stole, marauded, and killed a lot of people.
Arlo, what do you think the definition of a pirate is?
The definition of a pirate would be a person that sails out on sea, marauding, hunting for treasure, and marauding towns, especially for their gold.
So what do you think? When he saved America and his bravery there, did that balance out the things he did bad?
He probably carried black slaves.
Say again, honey?
He probably also carried black slaves, so think.
What do you think,
So
Kristian?
is a pirate a good person or a bad person? Especially if they traffic in human slaves. Are they good or bad?
Well,
Because Jean Laffite certainly sold slaves, but he certainly employed them too.
what is important?
That means they were his pirates. He would take former slaves or escaped slaves or something of that sort and make them part of his band of pirates.
Yeah, I believe his troop that saved America in the War of 1812 was
In part,
a mixed group of people from all over the world.
right? So does that make them pirates good or bad?
Well, it depends on Jean Laffite.
Take that out your mouth.
Jean Laffite, he's a good pirate and a bad pirate. I don't know how to say it. But just a normal pirate who didn't save a country, who just does the same thing as him, except for save countries, save a country. He didn't. They're bad because they're shipping slaves, they're marauding, killing people.
One thing that interested me was that he became a soldier, and that, of course, soldiers, we forgive them for killing people because it's part of what they have to do. And one thing I was really interested in the book was that actually, when Jean Laffite started out as a pirate, he was working for the country of France. So it was actually legal in France to be a pirate.
He was a pirateer.
A privateer, they called it, which I think was just another word for pirate.
A pirate under a crown.
Yes.
Right.
What a privateer is. So the other question is, he saved America. Does that necessarily make him good? Because America was what? What was America at that time?
America was nothing. It was just, it wasn't a country.
Well, it was a country, but it was a country that was stolen from indigenous peoples, the people who were here first. So Europeans came and took it from them. And then Europeans turned into Americans because they lived here. And then Jean Laffite came and helped the Americans keep it from the rest of the Europeans who were trying to take it from them. In the meantime, all the people that were here first, the original people,
Killed.
yeah, they were just getting killed. They're
A lot of them were dying from a disease, a lot like the one we're wrestling with now. They were viruses that they had never had before, and so they had no immunity, and they died really fast when the Europeans gave them blankets and came in contact with them.
So the other question is, well, one question is it right or wrong to be a pirate? Is it good to save America from Britain for the Americans while the indigenous peoples
Or slain by them
were killed and died from disease?
because of them.
Which
Well,
leads you to the next question is, what exactly is right and wrong?
right, because another important part of this story is that Jean Laffite was Jewish. And Jewish people were deeply persecuted in Europe for hundreds of years. And so in some ways, the laws of Europe and America meant nothing to Jewish people because the very laws in Europe gave people the right to kill Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of layers here. So Arlo, would you recommend this book? Do you think other
Would you
kids would like it
recommend
as
this book
much
to
as
other
you
kids?
do?
Yes, I would recommend it to other kids to let them think about, is he good or is he bad? Why did he do this? Is he just a really thoughtful guy, or was he not paying attention? They killed the Europeans, killed his people. Or did he not?
Food for thought. And this concludes this episode, the Jean Laffite episode of The Silver Librarian. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Arlo.
Always pleasure.
By 1806, brothers had enough money to buy a schooner, and they went back into business as privateers. More than ever, Jean burned with the desire to capture Spanish vessels, especially the warship that contributed to his wife's death. So as long as I live, I'm at war with Spain, he said. Jean-Pierre and their crew sailed to the city of Cartagena, Colombia, to get a letter of marque. Colombia had been ruled by Spain and was struggling to become independent. So the government welcomed the help of privateers like Jean. Flying the Colombian flag, he set out in his brig, Monsieur La Miz, to seize his prey. Soon he caught a Spanish schooner. He renamed her Dorada, golden dolphin fish. Dorada became his favorite ship. As Jean and his brothers swept across the Gulf of Mexico in their ships, they took one Spanish schooner after another. At last, in 1807, Jean hunted down the hated man of war. After a fierce battle, Jean forced the Spanish captain to surrender. He finally avenged his wife's death.
On January 8th, 1815, just before dawn, the Battle of New Orleans began. 3,400 British troops, generally greatly outnumbered a scuffer American army which was made up of backwoodsmen, pirates, New Orleans British drums,
Freed slaves,
gunboats, sailors, and a few women from New Orleans. British drums rattled as Jackson's army Baratarians crouched along the levee in groups of 4 dense fog kept them concealed. The British fired a rocket, a single attack cannon. Fire filled the air, guns boomed, musket balls whizzed by. Within half an hour, the battle was over. The Americans had won. They had killed 250 British soldiers, but only 13 Americans had died. The remaining British redcoats ran away. Then were following in order to retreat.
In 1814, took a little trip along with Colonel Jackson down the mighty Mississippi. Took a little bacon and we took a little beans, and we met the bloody British near the town of New Orleans. We fired our guns and the British kept it coming. Wasn't nigh as many as it was a while ago. Fired once more and they began a running on down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico. Looked down the river and we seen the British coming. There must have been 100 of them beating on the drum. They stepped so high and they made the bugles ring. We stood beside our cutoff bells, didn't say a thing. We fired our guns and the British kept it coming. Wasn't nigh as many as it was a while ago. Fired once more and they began a running on down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico. Old Hickory said we'd take 'em by surprise if we didn't fire muskets till we looked 'em in the eye. So we held our fire till we seen their faces swell. We opened up our squirrel guns and really gave 'em hell. We fired our guns and the British kept it coming. Wasn't nigh as many as it was a while ago. Fired once more and they began a running on down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico. Well, they ran through the briars and they ran through the bramble and they ran through the bushes where the rabbits wouldn't go. They ran so fast that the hounds couldn't catch 'em on down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico.